So we're now going to move on to something I haven't done too much research in the meantime since we brought this up.
I've been writing it as we speak.
Yeah, fantastic. We're going to have a look at our 10 best ruckmen so far for the season.
It's a position that has been brought into question a lot due to the draconian St Kilda offer.
But you always,
because
ruckman's effectiveness is always a debatable kind of
correct
thing because you need to think to yourself, Tristan Sherry did so well last year in terms of stats and had himself a career year in that term, but how effective was his ruck work? How much did it work in getting the team clearances compared to a Rowan Marshall, compared to a Max Gorn, compared to a Brodie Grundy last year? Going to be interesting to see what we look at this time.
Yep. Well, I'll start. We'll go from 10 to 1.
Yep.
Because I believe we're doing 10 ruckmen.
Yep.
I got the memo on that one. Good. And number 10. Rowan Marshall, the very own St Kilda
Really?
ruckman.
All the way at 10?
I think he's had 2 good weeks, 1 okay week, and 3 bad weeks. That's the way I've put it. I don't think he's better than any of the 9. I put him above. He's had better games than some of them, but his floor has been really poor this year. Part of that is fitness. He just hasn't had the off-season and the pre-season to be able to get fully fit and perform straight into this year. But again, he hasn't been fully fit. And the midfield at his feet also isn't working very well, which sort of takes into it because his effectiveness isn't going to be as shown when their midfield is going to get dominated.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head now. The one that comes to mind for 10 for me is the Nank. Toby. I think he is definitely a formidable ruckman. I would honestly put Rowan Marshall above Nank and a lot of other ruckmen right now. Maybe you could. I do see your argument. His floor has been poor. We've seen that. I think against the Dogs is the most recognisable one for me.
Yeah.
But I think what he can bring at his best, and he has shown his best at plenty of times so far this season, puts him a bit higher than some of these more standard ruckmen. I think the ruckmen who can be a bit more all around, get themselves involved in the play their role, whatever their role may be, whether it's becoming a linking player, whether it's an intercept marker, like the likes of Gorn. Those players who have more than just be a big body, ones I value a bit more, and I think play better just in general. Their general play comes off better. So I put Nank in that 10 spot because he's a very, very good one-dimensional ruckman.
Yeah, I've got him at 9, so nothing really changes.
Yeah.
I just think he's had a better floor than what Marshall has this season.
Yep.
That's like, he's been a great leader for Richmond. I don't think he can come into question with that whatsoever this year.
Easy. Next up, I am going to go with... Oh, it's very, very tough. Very, very tough to kind of work this one out. I'm kind of tempted to go Lloyd Meek.
At 9.
At 9.
Okay.
Definitely could be higher
Yeah.
because of how well Hawthorn have played and how well he's kind of helped out his midfield.
Yep. Okay.
I think he is still, though, one of those one-dimensional ruckmen.
Yeah. He's one-dimensional, but at the same time, I think
he's really good at that dimension. Yeah.
Like he can provide some forward option, but he's not getting back a lot to intercept mark and help out the defense. He provides some around the groundwork, but he's not like a Tim English or Rowan Marshall or Max Gorn in that level.
Yep.
So I just think he's great around the stoppage. He provides a lot for that Hawthorn team, and he will continue without Will Day and without Nash and stuff. But again, as you said, he is a little bit one-dimensional with his play, which is why I have him at 8.
Yeah, completely fair. I have at 8. Man, you're making this tough. I can't keep up with all of this. My 8, I'm going to go Riley O'Brien.
Okay. I actually don't have him in my list at all.
That's completely fair. I think Riley O'Brien at the moment, again, one-dimensional, but he's doing his job quite well. There's been the shaky game here and there, but I don't think that's his fault.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's the one-dimension type thing that I just keep coming back to. Players who you can rely on getting ruck work happening, but you can't do much elsewhere. No. And so I'm even tempted to put him above. I may actually even put him, Lloyd Meek, over Riley O'Brien. I'd give Riley O'Brien the 9 and Lloyd Meek the 8.
Yeah, the way I see it is I think that O'Brien hasn't had any impact with the ball in his hands whatsoever, whereas Meek has.
Yeah.
He's been able to get on the scoreboard occasionally as well.
Yeah, so I think, scratch 9, put him at 8, Riley O'Brien 9.
Fair. 7, I have Brodie Grundy.
Mm-hmm.
I think He's had some really good games this year. Started in the first couple of weeks a bit slow though, which is where he's not in the top 5 for me. But I just think that as Sydney continues to struggle, he's been one that hasn't had a bad week in a few weeks, whereas it feels like every Sydney player has over the last few weeks. He's been one that's been very consistent in his play.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to him as well. I think Brodie Grundy, I haven't paid as much attention to him as I'd like, but he is one of those ones can get around the ground, but I think he's starting to get a little bit slower with his play, and obviously Sydney's struggles have made it hard to put him up there. If he was one of their standouts, I'd maybe put him a bit higher, but I just feel like, Grundy at the moment is still up there in terms of competition talent, but nowhere near his best days.
No, fair enough. At 6, I've got Jordan Sweet.
I was gonna ask about Jordan Sweet and where you put him because he's had some good games.
Yeah, I rate him very highly. He is similar to a De Koning who will feature in this list in terms of his around the ground work. He's almost like a bigger midfielder. He's a very skilled player. He moves around the ground really, really well. He just hasn't, to me, provided that forward or back connection properly. Like you've seen from all the really good ruckmen, they're either really good on the scoreboard or they get back and protect their defense. He's done a little bit of both, but not enough of either. But I think now that the power midfield is really getting to start moving with Wines, Drew, Butters and Horn-Francis all there together, I think he has really fed them extremely well so far this year.
I was going to give it to Timmy English.
Okay. I don't have English in my list at all.
That's surprising to me. Because I think he still offers a really, really good amount of around the ground coverage.
I'm strictly doing it based off of these 7 games this year.
That's fair.
Strictly, right?
That's completely
so not
fair.
taking into effect anything else. I think he's had max 2 good weeks. To me, only 1 really strong week, which was this week.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been that good all year at all.
Okay.
I think that's where my argument comes from. I just think he needs to continue this, and then maybe at round 12, if we want to do this again, he can make a list. But I just don't see it.
I just give him a lot of credit for sticking so hard at it despite all the injuries and working with the midfield that he's got.
He's got the best midfield.
Well,
arguably.
he's got it now.
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't have it to start.
But again, that's an argument. He should have stepped up when he hasn't.
Yeah, I guess that's another way you could look at it. But I still very much highly value Tim English.
Yeah. At 5, I've got Jared Witts.
I was going to put Witsy at 5 as well.
Have you?
Yeah, I'll put Witsy at 5.
Okay. Yeah. I think that the leadership he's provided to Gold Coast, the impact he has in the stoppage, he's not great around the ground, but he just sits there and becomes a target, and that's what you need. He just is a fantastic leader. He's really smart as a footballer as well, and he just makes it so hard for the opposition ruck to be able to get his own midfield involved.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. You have a look. I mean, he's got a fantastic midfield to work with. We know that for sure. But he provides that bit of a leadership as well. He was captain, but he still obviously, even though he doesn't have the C anymore, he will still be one of those guys that players look to for leadership and guidance. And I think he's done a very good job at finally getting Gold Coast over the hump, helping at least with that.
Yeah.
Who have we got at 4?
4, I've got Darcy Cameron.
Interesting. I was going to put Tristan Sherry. Tristan has had an okay start to his season so far.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's anything fantastic. I don't think he's had a fantastic game just yet. There's been games where he's looked really good.
I thought he was really good this weekend.
You could argue that. I still think he's kind of got a bit of that habit. I try to look at Sherry as critically as possible.
Yeah.
I think still a lot of what he does is very in the moment to neutral outcomes, right? So quick clearances, cool, but they go to contested and outnumbered possessions or tap downs to players for tackles, stuff like that. So as much as he is effective and as good as he can be at his best, Sherry still feels like one of those players who needs to put more of his work to the advantage of his teammates rather than just to himself, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'd give him 4.
Yeah. The reason I've got Cameron at 4 is because when I mentioned Ruckman being able to provide forward impact or defensive impact, he has been the best Ruckman this year at defensive impact. I think that he's averaging almost 2 intercept marks a game as a Ruckman, which is fantastic. He gets back and he allows Darcy Moore to be able to come loose. He allows Jeremy Howe, to be able to play loose. And he's doing that, and that's what's allowed Collingwood to be so solid defensively.
Yep.
He's also been really solid at stoppages this year, and he's been that all throughout. He's now providing that defensive coverage that they've needed without what's his name? Nathan Murphy. What's his name? Since that, they haven't had that defensive coverage. He's providing it now.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that's a really, really underrated thing about... Because I've got actually Cameron Hire.
Yeah.
I've got Cameron Hire here.
Mm-hmm.
I am putting in this number 3 spot, I'm putting Tom de Koning.
Okay. I've got Cherry, my 3. Tristan Cherry. I think, yeah, as you said, the contest is his strength. It is 100%. He's been able to hit the goals occasionally as well this year.
No, that's always
which is something he's now starting to get into his game. Whether we can see that a bit more often would be a fantastic thing for him to provide. But again, if he could bring that defensive pressure that a couple of other ruckmen are doing, that would make your defense even more solid than what it already could be with the talent you can get there. Like Combin, Logue, Core, there's still some talent there. You just haven't found it to be able to mesh together yet. I think if he provides that, it'll really help some of your interceptors get their game going. But as I said, the contest he's providing, he's a really solid tackler, and he just doesn't allow midfielders to be able to get a burst as often as some other ruckmen do.
Yeah. My reasoning for Tom de Koning, I'm also starting to realise that there's one player that I originally was going to put up here, but I've completely spaced out. So Rowan Marshall is also not on this list. I would actually put him on this list if I could. I'd switch him out for someone. But I can't think of it right now. Again, this is so unorganised. Tom de Koning, number 3. I have got him there purely based off of the fact that Carlton as a team, sure, it doesn't impact how he plays, but there's been a lot of times where his play also comes off sloppy too. Obviously, he's all over it, and it's why people and teams like St Kilda want to pick him up, because in a clean and in a really, really good environment, in the sense that players are playing at their best, skills are on point, whatever it may be, Tom de Koning really thrives because he gives them so much opportunity everywhere around the ground, everywhere. And so that's why he's so valuable right now. He's not just a ruck who can also get on the scoreboard, or a ruck who can go back and take intercept marks. He is a ruck who can do a little bit of everything. And that's why he's so valuable right now. So that's why I've got him at 3, though. I've got him at 2. My 2 is Cameron.
Yeah. Fair.
Cameron has had a fantastic season so far. He has been, like you said, defensively, he has played a key defensive role as well as a ruck. I mentioned how much I love all-arounders, but when you've been playing damn near elite for a position you are not playing, that's
crazy.
really, really positive.
Yeah.
And Collingwood have absolutely thrived with him. You're seeing how good of a stretch of play they're going on so far, and Cameron is a massive reason for that.
He's so crucial to how they play defensively and
Absolutely.
how they structure up.
Absolutely. And so that's why I've put him so high up there.
Yeah, de Koning for me at 2 is because, as you said, he provides defensive pressure. He provides offensive impact with the way he's able to grab the ball out of the ruck. But he also gets around the ground and gets involved with how they link up now. And like as I said with Sweet, he's almost like an extra midfielder. Tom de Koning is an extra midfielder.
Yeah. And then our 1, we both got Maxi.
Yeah. He could be on his way for 8 All-Australian nods, which is crazy to say. When you're talking about defensive pressure, he's almost impenetrable. He provides occasional goals here and there as well. Obviously, still can't kick in front of goal in set shots, but, can't take
50
everything.
50 plus, 50 out. He's pretty bang on, to be fair.
Very true. It's so hard to go past him. He's just so impactful, even for this Melbourne team.
He is potentially the most impactful Melbourne player right now.
Oh, for Melbourne, yes. Arguably Ruckman of all time, also yes, I'd say.
Yeah, you could argue that. That'd be another thing entirely. And that'd be actually quite cool for a bit of a discussion. But that is ranking the 10 best ruckmen in the AFL so far. Very rushed. And like I said, I'd put Rowan Marshall in there somewhere because I've completely forgotten him.
Outrageous from you. How dare you? No, I'm joking.
Who did I put at 10?
You put Nank at 10.
Nank at 10. Yeah, sorry, Nank, you're out. Yeah, sorry, Nank. My bad, bro. Marshall can take 10.
Fair enough. Okay.
No argument for me.
I don't care.